Hello everybody and welcome back to Encounters USA. We're now sitting way above Lake Cushman. We're sitting above the Hood Canal and we are about to go on a little journey into the backwoods here, and Rich is going to show us an encounter that happened a few years back. And basically, to show you the chronology, while the Harstine sightings are going on, Rich is starting to get other activity. He's starting to hear of other activity. So, Rich, could you tell us how you came onto the Lake Cushman property?
Dow Mountain actually started before I went back to Harstine Island. And the reason why I got involved in the Dow Mountain area is because it was directly adjacent to my main research area at the time, which is right here, which is the Hamma Hamma. And the way the Dow Mountain site came to be was it came through on the BFRO reporting database through flats, and another investigator had initially picked it up, but since it was right next to where I was doing my main research at, I asked him if I could co-research the site with him, and he ended up just turning it over to me. So I was ongoing investigating there, picked up at Harstine, and then mostly I was coming up here. You know, I had about 25 cameras up in this area on average, probably throughout the whole time period that I was investigating up here. I don't have anything. Actually, there probably is 1 or 2 cameras still out here that I never found. One out by Mount Washington, and actually 2 maybe up there that I couldn't ever find again after I set them. But what brought me to this area in particular was the historical data related to it. Through the BFRO page and then other places. Ever since they put roads into this Hamma Hamma area in the 50s for logging, there's been sightings up here, and they just keep reoccurring, and they're happening currently now. And this is a fairly vast area. It stretches from about Lake Cushman to the Hood Canal, down to Jorstad Creek, and then back up to the Hamma Hamma River, up to the main falls, above the lower falls. Along Jefferson Creek up to Mount Piercing, Washington, and Eleanor. And I talked to a guy a lot whose name was John Chrisman, who started researching this area in the 50s all the way until the late 90s, and then he got too old, and I think he's passed away by now. But I talked to him quite a bit, and he told me he'd found over 1,400 tracks in here. Followed a group of 5 Bigfoots in here that he knew by footprint for like 30 years.
Wow.
He never had a sighting, but his brother did, but he was close to him a bunch of times. He collected hair samples here, feces, all kinds of stuff, and gave me vast amounts of information related to this place. And I was able to pick up, you know, where he left off and find stuff right away when I first started coming up here. And this is where the area that I got the Bigfoot pictures on my game camera, which I swabbed for DNA, and got presumptive results off of those that matched other presumptive Sasquatch samples through the study. And I got saliva off the camera.
Yours or Bigfoot's?
Bigfoot saliva.
Okay.
And how I noticed it was on there is the pictures I got had the Bigfoot had its hands on it. It moved the camera.
Wow.
And I got pictures of that, and then it got real close to it, and there was like a residue on the surface of the camera that looked like possibly saliva, and so I swabbed it off, and sure enough, that's what it was.
And DNA tested that?
Yeah, it was part of the Ketchum study.
All right. Well, Rich, I'm excited about this, so let's just jump into it. Let's head over to that property, and let's check out that sighting, because I want to see the pool that you were talking about, and I want to see where you they put that string to kind of keep you out. So let's go check that out.
They had 2 sightings. The original homeowners, they didn't know they were Bigfoots. And one of them was in the exact location that Michael had his first sighting when they moved in here. They don't live here anymore, but I think they still own it.
So you said that this was, let me just start this video. So we are now about a few miles from Lake Cushman, and we're with Rich Germeau, and in this video we are going to go to the site of where he was placing his cameras at this property because these people were having contact. So, Rich, you looked up in the database, and what kind of information did you find about the property?
Well, I tried to corroborate their claims and to make sure this was a legitimate site. So I checked the police CAD system over a decade period of time in this general area for specific police reports that may have been misconstrued that were actually Bigfoot reports, or potentially. And I was able to find 4 or 5 that met that criteria that were likely. 2 of them were at this exact address prior to the original homeowners buying it.
So what made you think it was a Bigfoot?
Well, the description in the calls, suspicious complaints, prowler complaints, people looking out their windows at 2 in the morning and seeing a very large dark subject standing that was moonlit. When you shine a flashlight on, their eyes reflect amber. Things like that.
And how many of these reports did you see?
5 or 6. One of them occurred right there at that arbor.
Okay.
The original homeowner reported that he had a prowler in his yard and it was standing at the arbor. He said it was a really tall black guy because his head was above the top of the arbor. And he was dressed all in black. And then Michael, the guy, or we shouldn't use his name. Here, stop here. Michael, the guy that owned this place later, his first sighting was at the same arbor. And they also had a sighting right at the other end of the yard. But they had all kinds of stuff happen here.
Okay, so are we placing any did you place any cameras here?
Yeah, I had about 4 or 5 cameras here for about 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. And I did get one possible picture of one of its leg, but I don't even know where it is. It's not definitive.
Okay, so talk to us about, you were at Harstine Island and now you're here. What brought you here?
I did this simultaneously with Harstine Island.
Okay.
I was here because it's close in proximity in relation to my main research area, which is the Hamma Hamma area. And that's where I did most of my research.
Okay.
Harstine was just in one of the spots. I had about 6 or 7 sites going all at the same time.
Okay.
I had 50 game cameras.
Okay. So what are we going to see now?
I did this 30 hours a week minimum for 5 years.
Those government jobs, you got to love them. So what are we going to see now?
We're going down to the trading place, where we used to leave all the, where I used to leave gifts. And the guy who reported this initially and brought me here, he took me to this spot because this is where he gifted at. And he was a musician too, and he used to play music here and have encounters down here.
Wow.
They had a fire pit there, and they used to actually invite people over to have Bigfoot encounters, their friends.
Huh.
And they would play music, have a fire, and they would hear the Bigfoots come down around here and just sit up in the bushes.
Wow.
And then they could see their eyes reflect off of the light of the fire. They hear them talking and everything, like their own language. And they used to hear them all the time in the creek down here, running up and down the creek at night when the water was low.
Wow.
It's really starting to rain.
It is starting to rain. We are dedicated.
This is Dow Creek.
Okay. And I suppose this is Dow Mountain behind us?
Yeah, we're on Dow Mountain right now.
Okay.
And on the backside of this mountain, I had another area that was part of the Hamma Hamma area, which is Hood Canal State Forest, around Price's Lake. And I don't know if they're the same Bigfoot that's here, but I suspect not. Different group. This is a group of 3. A male, female, and then a juvenile.
So do you think those Bigfoot walk these trails? They must have.
This isn't there. This is the People's Trail.
Okay.
In fact, I'll give you a little history on this place. When I first came here and got the tour, the guy who owns this, they own 5 acres here. Part of their land is on the other side of the creek. He had a real strong impression right when he first moved here that he wasn't allowed to go to the other side of the creek. In fact, the entire time he owned this property, probably up to now, He's never been on the other side of that creek.
Wow.
I have been over there.
I'm going over there.
But, well, we don't need to go over there today. But what I will tell you is later, you know, I did this head in the box to try to get pictures of him. I had a camera in a box with the mannequin head over the top. And over a few weeks, nothing happened. And finally, I propped the box open all the way with the head showing and the camera sitting next to the head. I came back a few days later. And from the side of the camera, which is up there at the little waterfall, going down for 200 yards plus, there was a kite string suspended above the water, right down the center of the creek, twisted around branches and stuff that were hanging, all the way to the base of the camera. And at the base of the camera, which is on the tree, there was a rock about the size of a basketball, which held down the tip of the kite string.
Wow.
And by checking the camera, which pointed right down the string, there was no pictures of anything on it.
Wow.
Except for me coming to check the camera. But whatever put the string there didn't trigger the camera, but it stood in front of it for a considerable amount of time.
Unbelievable. And the batteries on the camera, they were fine?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've had other instances in places around here where the batteries have went dead right away.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, the first time I went out to Harstine to check on your encounter, I put fresh batteries in my recorder, my microphone. They were dead after a couple minutes. So I don't know what the deal is with that.
All my gifts right here. And then I climbed a rope over there to put cameras in there, throwing rocks at me one day while I was in here, but I couldn't see where the rocks were coming from. The other person was way behind me. They were above me somewhere.
Amazing.
But it's always cool in here, even when it's 90 degrees out. It's cool.
Yeah, I thought about this when I heard about your encounter. I thought it would look something like this. I thought this pool would be bigger, but it's not the same as I thought it would be.
Actually, this pool used to fill with water, but it's filling with gravel now. You get pretty high water events in here that really exhaust things around. It didn't get very high this year because there's moss all over the rocks now. In fact, the only gifts that would get taken were the ones that weren't on the camera. I had a camera on that spot where I had gifts, and it was strange because the stuff would always be moved in front of the camera, but I could never figure out what was going on until I started reviewing the pictures and see rocks would enter the frames and knock over the shit that was inside. In fact, I put in here a little rubber ball because I used to stop at Walmart and buy cheap toys and bring them. And there are certain things they liked. They took a Barbie doll, a small one. They kept it for 6 weeks, and then it came back the same spot, all weathered looking. They took a rainbow-colored Barbie horse that I left. They never brought it back. Some other little things they ended up taking. I put a mirror here and stuck it in the moss facing them. Came back a few days later. The mirror was on the ground facing down.
Wow.
I put a little rubber playground ball there with Hannah Montana on it. They took a stick and jammed it all the way through it and popped it. It was sitting right where I left it with a stick jammed all the way through it. And those are tough rubber ball walls. They poked it through all the way. And so the stick was sticking out both ends. I hung stuff from trees. I left food down here. They didn't never take any of my food. The guy who used to own this place used to give them food all the time, and they would take it from him. But only certain things they would take, and they wouldn't take other stuff. They didn't like vegetables too much. They take apples, grapes, bananas, stuff like that.
So when was your last, I want to say encounter, when was your last experience here?
Well, the last thing that happened was the head in the box and the string.
Okay.
And then after that, nothing ever happened again. But I kept coming here for like a year after that, off and on. And in fact, the guy who owned this used to have mind speak with him occasionally. In fact, they have showed up at his house in Renton, and not physically, but he see their shadows and feel their presence, and they would give him impressions or talk to him. What do they say? Does he just communicate with him and talk to him about whatever stuff? But they told him about me and stuff that they were greatly offended by the head in the box.
Ah, is that right?
And they liked me at first and enjoyed my tenacity, but thought I was misguided about things. But they said that I had crossed the line with the head in the box. They thought it was insulting.
Yeah.
And so, and it made a lot of sense to me that they would think that. One time I was in here, 2 encounters I think I had here while I think they were here when I was here. The time I was setting the cameras, when I threw rocks, and I came back the next day because I was working up here. All my cameras, all the camouflage was ripped off of them. No pictures and nothing on them because I went and checked them right afterwards. Another time I climbed the other side of it and I went up the ravine, and there's an old road up there and it edges a big clear cut at the top of the ridge, and then it goes into a couple of bowls. And I got right to the top of the ridge, and right across from me on the other side, I heard one dove sound like, whoo, and that was it.
Wow.
And doves don't usually hang out together alone like that and make one sound. So I think that likely they were alerting, their sentry or whatever was alerting that I was there. And I it took me a little while, but I peered over there. I didn't see anything or hear anything else. But I thought it was odd because I'd never heard doves here before. And just a single dove sound like that with no bird flying away or anything. Because when a dove flies away, you're going to hear flop, 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 flop.
Right.
Go out of the tree. Didn't hear nothing. And didn't see any other doves. So, that's it. And then potentially, as we came up the road, there's a little restaurant back there. I had access to all that timberland back there. And I had game cameras. I was working with DNR doing security surveillance for them. In return, I got full access and keys to all their land.
Oh, wow.
It was all closed off to the public as a refuge area. So I had a whole bunch of game cameras over on this side and on this side. And I had one position that shot across this road into this thick, young timber. And at 3 in the morning, I got a picture of a tall, dark figure coming out of the timber and going down the road. But he was way too far away to get any detail. It was just a shadow at 3 in the morning, way back in the woods behind a locked gate that was tall and walking bipedal.
Wow.
So potentially, I think I got a picture of one there. And then down there, as we came up, there's a hole in the side of the hill that goes up under a root. I had a camera up under there, and during the daytime, in the afternoon actually, something walked by, and I got a picture of what looks like from here down in just this area of a big hairy calf muscle.
Wow.
Brown hair that didn't look like a bear or anything else.
Wow.
And I don't even know where the picture is anymore. I didn't even hardly show it to anybody, because what do you say it is? You can't tell. But I had a good idea, likely, of what it was. But that's the only picture I got. And I had 5 cameras right in this little strip in here.
Wow. So, can you tell me where your camera is up there? Is there one on that tree?
I don't have any cameras in here.
Not now, but before it was on that tree?
That older was a tree that had the box on it with the head in the box.
And then the string went from all the way down to the stand.
At the base of the tree, there was a rock place there, about that big around, about 100-pound rock. Wow. And it was on the end of the string, holding it there. And the string went that way for about, like I said, 250 to 300 yards. It's like they stole a whole roll of kite string, and they used it. And see how the branches go out over the creek? Just the kite string would be wrapped around the tip of a branch to hold it in place, and it was suspended about 3 feet above the water. Right down the center. The way I took it was you don't cross this line anymore.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's the same thing as Harstine, I think, for setting boundaries.
Oh, maybe.
And they're saying, don't cross this.
It's a frog.
And nothing against you, of course, but I think maybe there's some communication. Hey, this guy's not getting the message. Let's make a string. Let's make a line. They understand lines.
Well, it took that event to provoke that.
Yeah.
Right? They were interacting with me before that.
So where were you? Were you rappelling off of this?
Yeah, I climbed up there, tied a rope up, and I rappelled down. And I set cameras on these trees because I felt they can't do really much about those trees, but they did the same day. Because I used to take pantyhose, pull them over the cameras, and then I would cut slits for the lenses to go through, and then I would stick debris in the pantyhose because you can stick stuff in it, so you couldn't even see them. They knew where they were immediately, but they were throwing rocks at me the day I was putting them up. I was hanging down there, and small rocks were going pew, pew, and bouncing off the rocks and stuff around me. They weren't hitting me, so they obviously didn't intend to hit me, but they were throwing rocks at me the same day that I was setting them up, which was in the first couple weeks that I was coming here.
Well, now you brought me here, so those Bigfoots are really going to be pissed off at you.
I don't know if they care anymore.
They'll be egging your house. Well, this is certainly a beautiful sight. So, yeah, I thought the Bigfoot after he was pretty long. So, great.
That's about it here.
All right, well, let's head on back and let's go down to the lake and...
Things with this thing, and it's about mind speak, because I experienced some of that, really, with the Harstine thing. So.
Good, because we can talk about that. You know, one thing... Getting too fat.
Yep.
Getting too fat.
It can happen. There's actually a little house there. They just tore down not long ago. They got full of mold.
All right, now you know what? Did you notice that outhouse at Harstine? Same big moon on the door?
Yeah.
Same big moon. Usually they have a small moon for the light. I know, because we had an outhouse when I grew up in Squim.
Yeah.
But that's pretty weird. It's the same design. So you're talking about hippies. Maybe it's the same hippies. And maybe the Bigfoots are attracted to that particular design of outhouse.
Yeah, I never know.
Probably not, but...
So where on the lake do you want to go?
So let's just go down to, there's a boat launch.
Yeah,
and we're going to...
There might be more than one up here.
Okay.